Selamat pagi and welcome. Good morning from Mama Bali. We're meeting here with Barry Downs, one of my most favorite wizards on walking this earth, who is the most incredible esoteric astrologer that I know. And we're going to go on a journey today exploring post Eclipse-Equinox-Eclipse Passage. What does this mean as an initiation and a rite of passage for humanity on this evolutionary journey we are walking right now? Welcome, Barry, who's at Mangere Mountain in Aotearoa, very close to Auckland International Airport.
Hi, Leanne. Hey, great to see you again. Beautiful, beautiful sunny Bali from springtime, spring equinox just passed, in here in New Zealand, Aotearoa, land of the long white cloud. Yeah, what exciting times we're in, to say the least. Hey.
Very exciting times, and it's interesting because spring's emerging in Aotearoa in the southern hemisphere, in New Zealand, Australia, and southern Africa and Americas. And we've also just come to completion of Galungan Kunungan, a 10-day ceremony of the ancestors here in Bali, Indonesia. And that has dovetailed also into Navratri and the 9 days of the goddess.
Beautiful, yeah. That fits very well with the eclipse being in Libra, eh? The sign of the whose ruler is Venus, the goddess of love, the supreme goddess, and of attraction, And but I tell you what's exciting for me. I think we'll talk about what's initiation. We talk so much about initiates and raising our consciousness, becoming our higher self. Well, what does one ask oneself? Well, what actually is initiation? And because, like the Buddhists say, you carry water, chop wood before initiation. What did you do afterwards? Yeah, carried water, chop wood. So, what's that all about? And I like to look at it as being our mundane, egoic consciousness, our vehicle for spirit in this earthly plane, our ego consciousness. And to me, and so I say that initiation is when the egoic, mundane consciousness becomes aware of its own divinity within, and that it is a vehicle of service to humanity and to the world at large. And so how does this process happen? And particularly now, there's many paths to that, whether it be Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Sufi, the different lay, that bring one into this a conscious awareness of the divinity which resides within our egos and makes it shine. So I think go back to that Buddhist analogy. What did you do before initiation? Well, we trod our path and we did whatever our muse was upon the earth. It was almost like the car was driving but wasn't aware of the driver. And then, when divinity becomes known, we are one, and the divine spirit within is having an experience of driving the vehicle. And so it's the vehicle feeds back into the divine, the joy of existence, the experience of existence, with all its ups and downs. I think, to quote an expression which was, all the shadows, all the sorrows are but as shadows, they pass and are done. Love is the law. And it's aware of the divine love that exists within us, that makes us aware of this kaleidoscopic Maya illusion which we live in. and where it's all is true and all is false, depending on where one's consciousness is focused and one's understanding. So for me, initiation is getting into that divine play and yet knowing that one is also the observer. So I thought it just sort of open up with that.
How beautiful. Your words are so soothing for the soul. I feel it through my system like honey gradually melting and sparking the stardust in my system. It's like this mild wave of ecstasy washes through my body when you speak those words because of the coherence and the resonance with the soul embodied on this earth walk. So beautiful.
Yeah, so it reminds me of the story of Krishna and the disciple, where the disciple crosses, Krishna says, I'm a bit peckish, can you go and get me a samosa? And the pilgrim goes across the Ganges to a village on the other side, knocks at a door and falls in love with this beautiful maiden and asks for a hand in marriage. And the father gives them some land and they have children and have this idyllic life. Then a terrible flood comes and washes it all away. And the pilgrim returns to Krishna and says, I've lost everything, I've lost everything. And Krishna says, well, you've only been gone 5 minutes, where's my samosa? And it's sort of like, it sort of encapsulates, it was real for the pilgrim at the time. But of course, when he returns to the divinity, the knowledge of the divinity, it was just a moment in eternity.
And coming into connection and coherence with one's divinity literally takes the time it takes to align, for it is there eternally.
Yes. Yeah. So that brings us to astrology as a way of initiation. I like to look on as, I think I mentioned this in our previous talk about give an astrologer your time, date, and place of birth, and from that he'll draw a chart. She'll draw a charter and discern your personality and and our life path from the positions of the planets and the stars as indicated by that chart. And then you say, well, what's the question here? What's the lesson? The lesson is that child born at that moment in time, which is you and I, is a reflection of the heavens at that moment in time. So there is the illustration and proof of one of our continuous divinity, that we're a continuous expression of the heavens made manifest at any moment in time. And this is also part of the initiatory process. And so, well, how do we align ourselves consciously with what's going on in the heavens, the universe, in order to awaken that knowledge of the divine within? Well, we look at this is a very, very special time. We've got Pluto going into Aquarius shortly. So I'm going to just sort of park that up and talk about the 4 signs that are very significant in this process in astrology. The first half of the chart, from Aries through to Libra, the first 6 signs, is the ego's journey, if you like. The spirit is born at the beginning, Aries, new beginnings, hello, have arrived, and goes through this journey of the following signs the Aries is the egoic, I'm here, here's me, I'm going to scream and get whatever I want. And Taurus goes, oh, I can taste something, I can feel something that's not me. And so the ego comes to understand the senses in Taurus. And then in Gemini, communication starts talking and communicating outside of itself. And so learns a bit gathering of knowledge and taking everything in, the mercurial mind. And then it moves into Cancer, the establishment of a family unit or one's position in the mundane world as a family. And the next sign, Leo, I've arrived, I've established myself, I'm king and queen or queen of my kingdom. And then Virgo says, well, what have you achieved? What's worth keeping and what's worth going? A certain evaluation or assessment. And then we come to the beginning of the transpersonal consciousness. In Virgo, Virgo's eliminated that which is not serving. This is worth keeping, that's not worth. I'll let that go. And this is why Virgo rules the end of the digestive tract, elimination. And so Libra goes, now this is the important thing, is that Libra comes to the weighing in the balance, the heart against truth, the feather, the judgment hall of Osiris. And it's not a sort of grace, or there's no grace or guilt involved. It's just a weighing up. Have I lived an authentic life? Have I been true to myself? And what processes have gone on in my journey of discovery? And so this is the weighing of the heart against the feather of truth before the ego dies in Scorpio in the sign of death. So this process, to use the Christian myth of Christ, the man on the cross, and the death and resurrection, if we look at it in esoteric terms, we have Jesus, the man, the egoic consciousness, suffers on the cross of matter, the four elements, and is nailed to the cross of matter and suffers the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes, the joys, the sadness, the journey. And so in the broadest sense of suffering, that's part of what the ego goes through. And so in Libra, equates to this, the Libra-Scorpio period, equates to the ego dying and giving up. And Scorpio is part of this process where held within the ego is that secret seed, which is the divine spirit. So the divine spirit is released as the ego consciousness falls away in Scorpio. And when it's
effectively release from its limitations of the
that's
full
right.
expression of its nature.
Yeah, and it's really amusing when all one has to do is listen to the zodiac signs to what they're actually saying. And so if you look at in the a strong example of Scorpio, and people go, oh my gosh, Scorpios, they're so succinct, oh my God, you know, they've made me cry or whatever. All they've done is poked our concept of who we think we are. You know, because the ego always fears its mortality. And so as human beings, we all do create a paradigm of who we think we are, whether it be whatever we are in the world, and we hang our hat on it because it gives us a sense of security. So Scorpio comes along and says, well, I think we'll see about that. And sort of gives the ego its prick, and it goes, ouch, that hurt, you know. But it's just, all it is the instinctual manifestation of the sign coming through the personality of that sign. So that purpose is to release and to reassess, or what the ego actually is. And then we move into Sagittarius, where the spirit is liberated and expanded. And so Sagittarians say, whoopee, let's go. Why not? You know, the eternal optimist, you know, let's have an adventure. I want to be free. And of course, in the esoteric sense, Sagittarius is also the sign of the philosopher and religion and spirituality and the higher self. And so this is when the spirit comes to know or see the divine and the knowledge of the divine. And the next sign, so in Sagittarius, when it follows it through as part of the initiatory process, this is the beginning of the spirit coming to know the divine. And then in Capricorn, which corresponds to Christmas, if you like, the birth of the god of love, or the return of the sun. And so Capricorn say, well, here I am in the world. This is where we are. It's the return of the spirit to the world. What did you do? But it's initiated. It has knowledge of the divine from Sagittarius. So it brings that knowledge into the world. And so we have Capricorn saying, well, this is it. This is where it happens. And in the Buddhist sense, again, what did you do after initiation? I still carried water and chopped wood. I got on with it. But with the light of divinity illuminating our consciousness. And this is the meaning of those 4 signs in there as an initiatory process. And I parked that for a second because it's quite a lot to take in. Yeah. It's a fascinating time. And that process happens throughout the year. And if we just hold for a moment and think about what I said about in astrology, that we're a moment in time made manifest in the world. So that moment in time sets a timeline going. And so in our egoic consciousness, we go and live our life. We live the conversation of our birth time, of our birth celestial planet. And we play it out in the world as an adventure. But when we look at this from an initiatory process, we make a conscious decision and mark a moment in time. And it's rather like in the sense of quantum theory.
It is, and it's that moment where we choose to step outside linear time. And we actually step outside linear time into the cycles and spirals of time.
Yes. Yeah.
And as we step outside of linear time and fate, we open to our soul's destiny and come into greater connection and coherence with what the planets were doing at the time we came in. So we start moving with them instead of being set in time. We become fluid from fixed, like the alchemy that
Yes.
supports the fixed to become fluid again. And so the dance begins.
Does. The joy of existence.
Yes, the joy and the simplicity of existence and the simplicity of simply being rather than doing.
Yes, so so the question is, well, how do we work with this astrologically? So what we do in this very interesting time of Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn, how do we link ourselves to this process of death and rebirth into an initiated consciousness, higher consciousness? We consciously mark those moments in time of two factors, the moon and the sun. This is where we move into the realms of stellar magic. And when we look at the various religions around the world and the ancients and so on, they knew this. They knew about these cycles and how important they were to mark astrological moments in time to effect change or a new timeline in our consciousness. And the most
Absolutely. And this is why I've been guided to hold guardians of Gaia on the new moons and on the full moons, and send out newsletters on the solar cycles, on the solstices, the equinoxes, and the cross quarter points 8 times a year to remind people this is your opportunity to be above as below, to sync yourself with the source of creation and to bring your destiny online.
Absolutely. I mean, this is where we are as a, as a race, as a universal expression. We're moving towards now in this time, and this awareness of linking ourselves, the great healing, the great schism that we are somehow separate from creation. This is the great lie that's been perpetuated in the last couple of thousand years. We're now moving into unity consciousness where there is no separation between here and heaven. And
it's a lie that can no longer be denied because of the intensity of this Eclipse-Equinox-Eclipse passage we've just been through, and being bombarded by major solar flares at the end of it. Everyone is feeling it, whether they have made that choice to step beyond linear time yet or not. Everything that is not in service or in harmony and synchrony with the soul is getting pressurized to eject, to let go of, to die to, so that who we are and what we are can be born anew, can be birthed anew.
And this is why here now in 2024 and over since 2012, there's been a whole series of amazing astrological alignments and energies. Excuse me, I'm just going to have to move this slightly. I'm running out of power. There we go. Yeah, a whole series of alignments that's been happening, and it's really powerful right now. And it's interesting that this solar eclipse has occurred in Libra, the beginning of the astrological stellar magic initiatory process. And So what we're experiencing is this assessment, coming to say, well, where are we going? What are we doing? Where are we going to? And how have we arrived here? What is our safety paradigm that we have constructed? It's feeling a bit shaky. And so this is causing all sorts of, shall we say, stresses personally and through the world. There's a bigger cycle going on in the world, which we can talk about shortly. But it's very interesting that this solar eclipse in Libra was also conjunct to the dragon's tail. What are we moving away from? And so it all fits in with the disintegration of the old paradigm. It's all part of a process. Everything's on course, folks. You know, we're in the great shift of the ages, as they say. And well, this eclipse in Libra is just part of it, the beginning of this next phase. And what we've had over the last, since, I'm just trying to think back to the 80s, when Pluto, or late 80s, 90s, when Pluto first went into Libra for a short time. So Pluto represents the soul's journey. Because Pluto, the god of Hades, he knows every incarnation that you've had, because we all go to his kingdom. So in a sense, it's the soul's journey in the world and through time. And so the soul, the group soul of the world, when Pluto went into Libra, started this initiatory process for the world. And so Pluto's gone through Libra. It went through the dark times of Scorpio, where we were encouraged, if you remember back in the 90s, of the gross materialism of the time that was happening. And then it went into Sagittarius, where there was a great reassessment of the position of religion, brought about by the Twin Towers, which brought various religions into examination. And then Pluto moved into Capricorn, the soul journey, the final stages, which we've been going through for the last 20 years, which is the material world, the breaking down of the old system. Capricorn as a sign governs the establishment, the higher authority manifesting on earth in a political sense. So it's old institutions, monarchies, corporations, particularly banking and land. And over the last, and governments, autocratic governments. And we've seen this over the last 20 years, the metamorphosis, which Pluto always does, is part of its process, changing from one state to another, life to death, death to life, backwards and forwards. And so it's now been going through this process of disintegrating the old structural paradigm through Capricorn, revealing all the secrets, because Pluto reveals secrets. God of Hades knows everything. It all comes to him, And so he's been revealing out to the world. Right, Pluto, its natural sign is Scorpio. Scorpio sees through everything. You don't fool me, mate. I know exactly what's going on. And so Pluto, through Capricorn, has revealed that the corruption of the material world. And now we're right at the end of it. Pluto's just gone back into Capricorn. We had a little bit of a taste of Aquarius. Other astrologers have discussed how the manifestations of that, but we're talking esoterically here, what's happening. So we're just seeing Pluto gone back into Capricorn, which is another look, another real examination of the old structures, the power of authority above, government down over the people, the Saturnine, which Saturn rules Capricorn, the Saturnine crystallization. And it's now in a time of being broken up. And so when power above fears loss, then it becomes more controlling. But you can only keep the lid on the pressure vessel for so long, and then it explodes, and all that's contained is liberated. And this will be when Pluto goes through the sign of Aquarius. And we've seen the manifestations of that in the 14th, 13th century, with the break from Rome and the Calvinist revolution. And when they came to understand that the sun was the center of the solar system and not the earth. And when again in the 1750s, this is over a 20-year period, we saw the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Declaration of Independence in America, where the writing of the Constitution, "We the people," is the first line of that Constitution. "We the people" is very much Aquarius. Power from below, rebelling against the crystalline authority from above. And we can see this lining up again at this present time.
Yeah, it's really interesting as you were speaking into this, because in the last 3-4 years, I've particularly been working with souls that are being born in the late 80s and early 90s, that are now in their early to mid 30s, that are here to orchestrate the shift of consciousness. And it's so inspiring to walk and work with these individuals who know who they are. They know they're here to change this world and make it a better one. And for some of them, it's not about having a family and children and living happily ever after. For some of them, they're like, no, I'm here to serve our planet and humanity. And there are others that are here who know they're here to bring family and children in, yet not in the old way, but in a new way. And this is where we're also working with them through the whole process of conscious conception, conscious communication prior to conception, clearing their energy fields to align with the divine so that they may land the new children through their systems, upgrade their own, and birth a whole new earth in manifest reality here and now. And it's so exciting.
I know. I wax lyrical about it. I mean, I meant so many in the generation you speak of. So I'm constantly blown away with the knowledge and instinctual awareness that these young people have got. You know, it's awesome. Yeah.
It's so beautiful, because all we have to do really is offer them some scaffolding in which they can align with that which they know and unpack all thought forms, belief systems, and patterns of behavior they inherited from their ancestors in a dysfunctional society, and everything reconnects.
Yeah, it's you sort of see as you know, we've gone through. Speaking for myself, you know, at 73, I'm going, okay, right. So what's the role here? Is to say, yes, you're on the track, guys. Yeah, we applaud you. What can we do to help? Well, how can we serve you? Is there anything that you need? You know. it's so, and this comes into the initiatory process of Aquarius. So we've got this Libra, Sag, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Capricorn. So that begets, okay, here's Capricorn. Well, I've have arrived back here on the earth with this awareness, this initiated awareness. Well, what happens then? What happens in Aquarius? So let's listen to what Aquarians are telling us. And so Aquarians are saying, I'm okay, you're okay. Don't impose your paradigm on me, or else you won't, and I'll do everything to avoid fitting into your paradigm. I'll do my own thing. And on the face of it, you think, oh, well, is that the rights of the individual? Well, we hear so much. One of the catchphrases amongst our peer group and is, I'm setting my boundaries. What are my boundaries? Well, then you say, but that is an expression of saying, I want to be recognized as an individual. Now, when we look at it from an initiate's process is, I am aware of the divine within this vehicle of who I am. So, but when one centers one's consciousness, the knowledge that the divine within is the same divine that's in everything and everybody. So then you say, what's the other thing that Aquarians say and manifest? The group, humanity, humanitarian, the group soul. What can I do in the community? Let's get a group of friends together and start a commune. Let's get a group of friends together and create a new political paradigm. Let's get a group of, so Aquarians, it is manifesting in its speech the divinity within, saying, well, I have skills, I have personality traits that are useful. How can I bring my muse in service of humanity, to help all people? And so in the Aquarian age is where humanity comes to learn the meaning of what it is to be of service, what is the vehicle, the ego's contribution to the whole, to the group. So we say, well, what are my boundaries? My boundaries are the limitations of my egoic consciousness. I can do that so much, and I can bring this to myself to the party, and this is where I can go to, but you can bring yours as well. So there's a generosity in that. There's a connection. And then the next one we come into, when you look at the sequence, as the signs follow each other, you come to Pisces, and Pisces say, well, God is love. I love everybody. And you get that Christ consciousness. And we look at what's happening right now, and we see here we've got Neptune in Pisces, the mystic. So the energy of the mystic working through the sign of service and love, that energy is coming to Earth now. And we've had several conjunctions between Neptune and Venus, the goddess of love, sublime beauty, ethereal love, unconditional love. So I'm going to just park that up because I think that's enough on that, but that little spot.
That was just another lovely shower of gentle honey through my body as Neptune come and lands.
I know.
The mystic into love.
Yeah. And so what we're looking at here, and in these times, we as the world is coming into through the initiatory process, And the next 20 odd years will be critical in how we're going to recognize what our muses are, what our skills are, what our shining light is, if you like. And I often use that analogy of a stained glass window. I use this quite regularly. When the light of the sun shines through a stained glass window, it brings out its beauty, and that's like saying, well, I've become aware of the light within, and so therefore it's shining my personality, which is the stained glass window, and I light up the cathedral floor as every other stained glass window in the cathedral does. And this is a time where we're coming into this, and the difference between Pluto going into Aquarius this time, the last two examples I gave of the 13th century and the 17th century, 18th century, 17th century, it was still in Pisces. We were still in the edge. No, so yes, it evolved the consciousness, but it was still within the Piscean idea of heaven somewhere else. That there's something wrong with the solid material frame. But that's Neptune journeying for the infinite. That rules Pisces. So we're now into Aquarius, where the stars are like the symbol of Aquarius, of the star in the tarot card, where the woman of heaven pours the waters of heaven onto the earth. We are received in that time, coming into that knowledge. So it's an extremely interesting time, and really important that we recognize the love that's within and go through life with so much love in our hearts that we will do it want to do it no other way. And then we will create manifestation following on from that.
And going through this recent passage has been literally like going through the birth canal, of which there is no going back. The only way forward is into body and into love.
Yeah. What's the first thing the child experiences? Here's a baby, just appeared, from the womb. The mother holds the baby and showers it with unconditional love. And so what do we have in the symbolism of the ancient? We have Isis, the great mother goddess, suckling Horus, the sun, the light of the sun. She's pouring the sustenance of unconditional love into the light of the sun child. Mary, suckles Jesus, the God of unconditional love, the same thing. The symbolism runs all the way through. The Krishna's mother opens his mouth when he steals the milk, and then wants to scold him, but then he's melted into love as she sees the universe in his mouth. The symbolism is there. It's known. We're coming back to that now.
And it's a call to maturity that we are responsible for our own love tank. It's not anybody out there who's responsible for filling our love tank. It's up to us to make sure that we fill our love tank so that it can go into overflow into everyone and everything that we encounter. And if our love tank drops below full, it's our responsibility to pause and top it up. And this maturity into full self-responsibility of what we're creating and the choices that we're making is a vital part of this initiation passage.
Yeah, choose love. Choose love. This is a really important message for this time of metamorphosis. Is choose love and not go down the rabbit hole of Maya, of the negative side of that. it's the old crumbling away. So it's the old paradigm, whether it be the egoic paradigm or the world governance paradigm. It's breaking down in order that the divine knowledge of love comes through. And so focus on that. Try and see that.
Yeah, and if we notice that we're going down a plug hole where we've been before, is to pause, shift our perceptual state of awareness, and instead of looping in the same old story in the same way, it's like, what is happening here, and how can I engage consciously to change the outcome?
Yeah. I had I think a couple of techniques that one can do. Had a friend who'd come out of a divorce and was saying, well, I've forgiven my partner now. And I said, have you? I said, and this lady was a Cancerian, and like many Cancerians, absolutely loved her grandbabies, And I said to her, imagine your grandchildren, your grandbabies in front of you, she's American, grandbabies in front of you. Look on them playing. What do you feel? I said, get in contact with them. And she said, oh yes, I've got that. I said, now take that feeling and extend it out to your ex-husband and send with it forgiveness or love. He is what he is, but you can feel love because that will heal you and release you. And I had an example of when I was not so long ago, a couple of years ago, I was subject to somebody who was very upset and was attacking me in a particular way, emotionally in one way or another. I recognized the pattern because, as everybody will recognize, patterns that have come up in our lives over this period, where we're either being attacked or the things that we fear have come up for us. And I know a lot of people recognize this that's happened over the last few years. And so it happened to me. It was a case of bullying. And I thought, well, how am I going to deal with it this time? And so I visualized this person in a cathedral, in the sanctuary, before the Christ. And I said, here you are, here's this person, they're suffering. I hand this person over to you, to the Christ consciousness, the consciousness of unconditional love. Would you take this person and look after them? And immediately that scenario came to dissipated, because I didn't react to the person, because anger comes from hurt and so on, and whatever one's feelings are. So what one can do, one can heal that with love and say, well, yeah, okay, I accept you the way you are. You don't have to be in my life or my sphere, but I can send you away with love and hand you over.
Yeah, I think what is important for all of us to remember is, particularly with the forgiveness line, is mindful. We can't put cream on top of crap.
That's right.
Because it's really important that if there are stories in the body, if there's suppressed emotions in the body, if there's unresolved pieces to the puzzle, you can't put cream on top of crap. You've got to go down first. Many of our Eastern religions are pure heart, enlightened mind. I'm not this body, I'm not these emotions, but they're not experiencing their divinity through embodiment. You've got to go in, you've got to go down. So first, go in, feel, breathe, move, sound, to not have cathartic outbursts, but to actually break down, combust the elemental structure of the energies that are stored in the body, to set them free, to make space in the body for more of our own consciousness to embody. And then the forgiveness will come quite naturally.
Yeah, there's it's something that's being, as an astrologer and as an esoteric astrologer, this process, this initiatory process, has been of great interest to me, and in the my life path and studies, there's of this astrological initiation by marking time, by marking astrological event, by marking the moon's passage. Yeah, it sets in motion and this initiatory process. And when one does start marking the moon in what they call the burning way in astrology, it's the via combusta, and it goes from 15 degrees of Libra to 15 degrees of Scorpio. Now, as stellar magicians or initiates, if we align ourselves by doing a very simple ceremony that's consistent with the moon in Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Capricorn, we can start that new timeline, which will initiate our egoic consciousness. And the process is not particularly comfortable to begin with, because we're bringing up and challenging what we thought was our comfort zone. And like you said, and what is the thing that we're going to be challenged in is the things we fear, the unbalanced force, all the other things is going to hit us in the face. And we're going to go, by aligning ourselves with the moon's passage through those signs, every month for 12 months, that process will happen naturally. You know, the unbalanced force, the old paradigm will be in our faces, but then it will dissipate as layer by layer by layer through the different signs. Because remember, the moon goes through all of the signs in 1 month, but at the same time, the sun over the 12 months is going through all the signs. So each month, the moon initiates the part of consciousness that the sun is in. Aries, the head and the mind. Taurus, the senses. Gemini, our thoughts and communication, and so on. So by marking every month that passage, we are initiating our whole being. Until we get to the end of the year, we go through the passages that initiatory process we have just been talking about. It's a very, very powerful system that, because it's powerful because we are dealing directly with the physical positions, of planets and the energies that are manifesting through them on the planet, creating the planet. It's incredibly exciting.
The physical positions and the forces of nature, and how the physical positions of the planet impact the forces of nature and us, for we are nature.
Yeah. Honestly, Leanne, I've got a couple of, this is a process, to use the term stellar magic as an initiatory process. A dear friend of mine, who was also a priestess of the order that I belong to, that rediscovered, brought this forward. The stellar magic has actually committed the various writings and discoveries to it. She's written them down in the books. If anybody's interested, who wants to sort of go into this a bit more, as stellar magicians and astrologers and so on. And if you don't, may I just I'm not giving a plug, I'm just giving hey, look, if you want to know more, you can go this book.
Turn it up the other way, darling.
Oh,
Kath Thompson.
There you go. Uranus is configuring in the charts at the moment, so it's going to turn everything upside down. Stellar magic.
I think what we'll do is in the links beneath this YouTube, there'll be your contacts and my contacts, and we'll also put Kath's contacts and how to find her books there to be able to
Yes,
sync ourselves with the source of creation through these lunar passages.
yes, and there's a lot more to it, but you know, it's written down in. She's written five of these small volumes because it's easy to digest in smaller amounts. And
Yeah.
there's quite a number of stellar magicians around the world now who are pioneering into this and cross-referencing what's happening to them. And it's very, very interesting because the process is consistent wherever one is in the world. You know? And I think we're coming into this. This is all part of the Aquarian energy, the new field. So
Yeah, I'm excited to explore the books myself because I have a feeling that there is a way in which they will support and amplify the Guardians of Gaia gatherings in our conscious understanding of stellar magic as we're starting to meet every new and full moon, that it can have a more expanded and integrated effect on the system, on each individual system, and through the unified field that we meet in.
Yeah, absolutely, Leanne. With what you're doing, what you're teaching and the workshops that you're doing, absolutely will mesh into this. You know, it's synchronous. You know, that we've come together and you know, and having these conversations, and you know, it's you are the high priestess. You have the knowledge. You have, as we know, that amazing Jupiter conjunct Pluto in your ascendant, which is an instinctual knowledge of the forces of the universe and the laws of the universe. So your shamanic self, you know, is very, very aware of what we're talking about. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I feel a lot of gratitude to be able to come to that much coherence in my own system, in my soul, my walk and my service, and to be able to support others into their unique expression and service, their unique mirror of above and below of what the planets were saying, what they were singing when that soul entered this earth. It's, you know, it's a blessing that I have so much gratitude for.
I think that's the word, isn't it, Leanne? That sense of gratitude. You know, you sort of look at the world through the eyes of incredible beauty. Triumphant is an expression of the sphere of Venus, the sphere of the goddess. Beauty triumphant. What can I say beyond that? The gratitude comes with it, and all virtue flows from it.
Yeah, and you know, in another 9 days, it's another completion of the solar cycle and the beginning of the next one for my soul and earth walk. And I'm in awe.
Me too. Me too. It's I noticed I was looking at the chart, you know, for the eclipse, and then I realized, oh my gosh, here we've got Sun conjunct conjunct the Moon, conjunct, you know, the dragon's tail, the moving away from the past, you know. And then I thought, I wonder what the chart of the you know, of Pluto's ingress going into Aquarius in November. And I noticed there was a grand trine between Sun, Moon, and Neptune. Neptune, the mystic, Neptune, spirituality, and it's in the water sign. Neptune in its own sign, Pisces. You know, sort of ethereal love. The depth of feeling. Sun in Scorpio. The Moon's in Cancer, you know, in its own sign. So what an amazing initiation of the next 22 years. Pluto into Aquarius.
It is, and I described this Eclipse-Equinox-Eclipse Passage a bit like it going into the undertow of the next big tsunami of a wave and awakening on the planet. It is what it is, and it's going to be really interesting to witness how that unfolds in the planetary pantomime on Earth in that time, because it quite likely is going to create a lot more chaos before there's a new way of operating as birth. And I'm finding that extraordinary too, because my journey in Bali and in Indonesian archipelago, this particular one that began in 2021 is coming to completion, and I'm being redirected back to my birthland. And from being a global nomad for the past 35, 36 years, it's quite significant that I'm being brought back to my birthland to make a base there. And I'm really excited about it and can feel the depth of this rooting and grounding that's being caused, called by my own soul at this time. It makes me cry just feeling into it. So I'm very curious how all of this will unfold.
But isn't that interesting? When we look at our own life pattern, and your own, in your case, going to all the sacred sites and linking with the sacred portals and the sacred sites around the globe, which a lot of people are doing, and you've taken people on these journeys to link with these sacred sites into the earth grid. And then now at this time, you're coming back to as linking with all these energies and bringing them back to your home, and that's the home is the self, of course, the self.
Yeah, and how us visiting these sacred sites with awareness of the mirror image above and below, when we can honor the seen and unseen realms as we enter that, we don't necessarily have just a 3D experience. We open up for a multidimensional experience that will support us to remember ourselves eventually as our system becomes a sacred site of its own.
It's I find it for me, it's a sort of really interesting journey, because it's a journey into a new consciousness. And what will this feel like? What will this be? In the 3D consciousness, this awareness that you were talking about. And I find it's absolutely fascinating and exciting. I know.
Wow. Thank you so much, Barry. As always, it's a pleasure to drink tea with you.
And with you, Leanne. Awesome. I wish I was there in Bali with you, although it's spring here and it's absolute, the sun's shining and it's beautiful.
Thank you for your big heart and generosity with sharing the wisdom you have bodied in your life's journey, and this esoteric astrology that is so valuable, for it is timeless.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Leanne. That's awesome. Same to you. You're a reflection of each other, eh?
And thank you for all who will be watching this recording, because it feels worthwhile of sharing our tea date today. And I look forward to drinking tea with you in person someday soon, Barry, perhaps in November.
Yes, that would be good.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Much love, everyone. And take good care out there. Slow down, be present, and remember to enjoy the journey.
Love.
With love.